How's it going, folks? Doing another best ball video, doing another Best Ball Mania 2. I'm only going to do two more of these Best Ball Mania 2 drafts, so I'm going to record both of them. And after that, I'll be waiting for a new contest to open. So a few things in the Best Ball Mania 2 is I'm not going to draft Darrell Henderson as current ADP because it's just too much of a negative versus the teams that already have Darrell Henderson in a later ADP, especially since I have 12.5% of him, which I got kind of lucky with. I had 5% Cam Akers, 12.5% Darrell Henderson, so that injury, helped me for best ball. Really unfortunate injury. I was super excited to see Akers play this year. I have a couple shares of him in Dynasty, which I'm pretty concerned about. On both the teams I had him, I did have Darrell Henderson. I shipped one of my Darrell Henderson shares for 222 seconds because I was punting with that team anyway. And the other team I'm competing, so I'm just going to hang on to Darrell Henderson and try to win it. My team in that league is really, really good. So on here, I would say we will be fading Darrell Henderson for these two drafts. Other news, the Michael Thomas news. Boy, don't even know where I would draft him at this point. It's tough. He would have to fall a lot. I assume he'll be drafted before I would take him. Some people think that's negatively going to affect Alvin Kamara. I am not in that group of people. I think that so far, Kamara has scored 31 DraftKings points per game in the Jonathan Taylor or Diggs. I'll take Diggs. So far, Kamara, it's only an 8-game sample that we have where there's Kamara and there's no Michael Thomas, right? But in those games, Kamara has scored 31 DraftKings points per game, and he's only scored 20 with Michael Thomas. So far, we have a small sample, but that sample has said that Kamara will be better. Now, obviously, Drew Brees is also gone. The offense could get worse. I'm just not moving Alvin Kamara anywhere. I'm not giving him a positive bump. I'm not giving him a negative bump. He was my running back 3 in full PPR and my running back 4 my player overall 3 in full PPR, my player overall 4 in half PPR. I'm pretty much leaving him the same. I might take him over Derrick Henry a little in half PPR just because I have more Derrick Henry than Kamara. So now it's close enough that I might take Kamara over Derrick Henry. But other than that, not really doing much. Interesting here. I was kind of taking Stephon Diggs with my eye to take a running back this round, but I don't think that's going to happen. So do we want Ridley? Blah, 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 blah. Kind of like Ridley here. Ridley and Steph Diggs play each other week 17, so it could lead to some sort of game stack where both teams are scoring a lot. The game isn't Buffalo, so that's a little bit less likely. But when I have a tiebreaker type of point where I didn't really have a strong feeling, I think Devontae Adams would have been a fine pick there as well. I probably would have been the next guy up. But since I could kind of start a week 17 game stack there by taking Ridley, I took Ridley. I do think that the Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers last dance photos that they've been sharing kind of implies to me that they are going to play this year for the Packers. So looks to me like Aaron Rodgers is coming back to play for the Packers this year because that's kind of what those photos meant to me, but I could be wrong there. Still could be Rodgers retiring. I mean, his wife and his mother-in-law seem to be pretty heavy on the anti-Packers stuff, but it would be a little crazy for him to just end his career there in that way. So let's go back and talk about the Saints situation a little bit more. So I've seen more people think that Michael Thomas being out is going to help Taysom Hill become the starting quarterback. I actually feel the opposite way. So a lot of people think that they'll change their offense to more of the read option ball control, kind of like they did last year when Drew Brees was out. And there's a couple of reasons why I don't think that that'll be the case. Number one reason being, last year the Saints were winning with defense. Their defense was elite, and they were able to win with defense. This year, their defense is down a lot of players. It's down Hendrickson, who was a great pass rusher. They're down Sheldon Rankins, that was their run stuffer. They're down Malcolm Brown, who was Sheldon Rankins' backup. He's been forced to play quite a bit over the last 2 years, and he's been like very, very good when he's been forced to play. So they're down him. They're down Anzalano, their linebacker, who's very strong. They're down Janoris Jenkins, who kind of sucks, but he's being replaced by a third-round pick. So that's like a little, iffy. I would say you'll probably be lucky to get equally as good play, right? From the third-round pick. I think we'll probably just be picking another wide receiver here. Be going with a 0 RB team. Well, we're going to take Allen Robinson or J.K. Dobbins. Okay. We will not be taking a wide receiver here. Pretty happy to take J.K. Dobbins. Y'all know I have a love for J.K. Dobbins. I am not afraid of the non-pass catching. I just think he's like super, super talent. And I feel similar to him as like kind of like Derrick Henry light. Like, okay, I know he's not going to catch a million passes. Don't care because he's just so good. When I was scouting that draft, like Swift, Taylor, and Dobbins to me were all just like, holy crap, man. These guys are just absolutely elite players. So I don't mind going at J.K. Dobbins there. So going back to the Saints situation, I feel like now that they're down Michael Thomas, they need to maximize their assets, right? Because they just lost an asset. So I think that they're going to be more tempted to start Jameis Winston so that they can use Taysom Hill as a pass catcher. Because, 2 years ago, when he was used in that role, he had like 6 touchdowns. And I think he can help stem the bleeding from being down Michael Thomas. Like, I think that they're not going to be able to just sit back and do ball control and play defense this year. Their defense is just... I mean, Lattimore still might be suspended. If Lattimore gets suspended, they start Taysom Hill, they're going to be losing games like 75-3. So I assume that they're going to go with Jameis Winston. Will not be taking Michael Thomas at this pick, if anyone's wondering about that. I do have interest in Montgomery and a few wide receivers, and then I guess Chris Carson. I was also going to say we could take Kyle Pitts to try to like build out that Atlanta Buffalo game stack, but that one's not an option. It's kind of between Chris Carson, Montgomery, DJ Moore, and Jamar Chase. I definitely don't like Miles Sanders as much as Carson or Montgomery. So we got DJ Moore as an option, David Montgomery, Chris Carson. I'm going to go with David Montgomery. This draft doesn't feel like it's going as crazy 0 RB as others. So, I think we'll have a wide receiver to pick next round that we feel pretty good about. We also could pick Josh Allen if he's available as our next pick to go with Stephon Diggs. I don't suspect that Josh Allen will be available, however. Another thing I'm trying to keep an eye on here is I'm really... with these new injuries and the way people have been drafting in these drafts, I'm really only trying to take an elite quarterback or like a top 5 quarterback or a top 6 tight end and not both. I guess the exception there would be if you can get like Lamar Andrews because, they stack. But it's just like really cumbersome on your build if you have too many onesie positions early in your draft. You really start getting cut off at the other positions. What round would Michael Thomas have to be available in for me to have interest? Kind of got to look at the wide receivers and then just kind of tell you where I'd take him. Probably around this Curtis Samuel, Marquise Brown. I'd take Antonio Brown over him. I think I'd take Brandon Cooks over him, but I would take those guys over the other guy. Pittman, probably take Pittman over him, but I like Pittman better than Samuel and Marquise Brown myself. So it does look like we're hammering them wide receivers. Josh Allen doesn't make it off of round 4, so we will not be pairing him with Stephon Diggs. We could still go for Matt Ryan with Calvin Ridley, but I'm not going to like hyper worry about that. I think this guy just kind of punted his draft off. Love that start with McCaffrey, A.J. Brown, and Darren Waller. I absolutely hate taking 2 quarterbacks at that turn pick. I think that will sink this team pretty much. Just blocking too many points when you do this. So I'm basically like never going to draft bully tight end again, and not ever going to draft 2 elite quarterbacks in the same draft. I have drafted bully tight end like twice when I thought that like it was just like a crazy value. I remember I got like Mark Andrews in like the 7th of a draft where I had taken Kittle, and I absolutely hated everything else on the board. So, I mean, if that situation comes up again, I might take 2 top 6 tight ends again, but I don't think that situation's all that likely to happen again. Pretty interested in the wide receivers here. I like Dak. I'm not afraid to take Dak and like late stack him. I do like Dak quite a bit more than Mark Andrews or Hawkinson. Like, I don't think you should be taking Mark Andrews and Hawkinson over Kyler and Dak. I think that is a large mistake. So here it looks like we'll be looking at like Ayuk, Claypool, or Dak. I'm not going to take Mike Davis. Like, none of the people behind me have a quarterback. Interesting that Ayuk lasted there because I'm really high on him. So I'm going to get greedy. I'm going to take Ayuk. We'll see what comes around to us. So coming back, I kind of have interest in the rookie running backs. Dak. If Dak was off the board, then I have a little bit more interest in TJ Hawkinson because I'm not picking him over an elite quarterback. I have so much Brandon Ayuk. It's going to really suck for me when he gets hurt. Definitely like the start to this team. Definitely glad I took David Montgomery over a wide receiver that round. I just didn't really love any of the wide receivers. I really like Montgomery's upside now with the news that Tariq Cohen is slow coming back from the injury. I don't even think Tariq Cohen has to be like out week 1 for this to help him. Like, just if they're not comfortable using him, or if he's not at 100%, he was already worse than David Montgomery as far as efficiency in the pass catching game. This team is going to be like under the microscope to win like no other team. Like, their GM and their coach are on the hottest of hot seats. So I think that they're just going to have to feed like whatever players they think, you know, can get them victories. They're not going to be able to just like hang out and use less efficient players. Bears traded in Anthony Miller to Houston. I just like don't think that changes much other than maybe makes Anthony Miller like an 18th round pick usable guy. Like, it doesn't make me want Demir Bird any more than I did before, who I think is the Chicago receiver that now is going to be the 3rd guy. Michael Thomas off the board. Nice to not have to make that choice. We're going to have an easy choice here. We're taking Dak or Javonte Williams. I'm going to take Dak this time. I don't have quite enough Dak in this tournament, and I'm fine like late stacking him. Like the value there. I think when I was picking Ayuk, I was kind of deciding between Ayuk and Dak. I knew Ayuk was 0% to make it back to me. I thought Dak was small percentage to make it back to me. Taking Dak over Javonte there, because Javonte I just have tons and tons of, and Dak I do not have enough of in this tournament. Also not afraid to late stack. Michael Gallup will not be there when we pick again, so that's a bummer. But we can probably go 3 tight ends and take Jarwin as one of them. Sounds like Jarwin is full practice already, which is good. But yeah, I would not suspect that we'll have Gallup as an option when we pick again. Still pretty high on Melvin Gordon at his ADP. I know everyone hates Melvin Gordon. I don't like Melvin Gordon. I like Melvin Gordon's ADP and the fact that, you know, the beat writer's saying he's still RB1. People got like so carried away with Javonte Williams taking the snaps and OTAs, but Melvin Gordon wasn't there. So I do think, I mean, I'd still much rather have Javonte Williams than Melvin Gordon, but I'm just not putting Melvin Gordon into the garbage pile just yet. Still a player that I will be interested in. Probably not until round, 11, but you can often get him in round 11. So we got 9 picks away. Still some pretty decent RB options. Enough where we could even consider skipping running back. Less, I guess, some might start to roll off the board here. Still 3 or 4 running backs I like quite a bit on the board. Definitely not going to take another quarterback for quite some time after taking Dak. We're going to go 2 quarterbacks. We're going to try to make our second quarterback later. So that's the other adjustment. Kind of something I was doing before, but now it's necessary, whereas before it wasn't necessary, is waiting a long time to pick your second quarterback when you have one of the big 5 or 6 or even 7, 8 quarterbacks. So I'm really going to try to hang out for somebody in that Wentz, Daniel Jones, Derek Carr tier way down the road. Reason being is now it's really tough to get wide receivers you like late. So the RBs are kind of ripping off the board. Still Sermon and Chase Edmonds that I have a little bit of interest in. Visca, Will Fuller. I guess if there is a quarterback that we're gonna take before the late rounds, the only one would maybe be Trey Lance because we have Ayuk, but got back-to-back 0 RB drafters in front of us. Interested to see where they go. One is a quarterback, one does not. Ouch. Yeah, Michael Gallup going off is a super bummer for us. Kind of hate Will Fuller. Mostert is somewhat interesting. All right. I'm just going to take Will Fuller because I don't ever take Will Fuller. So, not great reasoning there, but I just don't really have any Will Fuller. Or don't have much Will Fuller. Guy was a wide receiver 1 when he was healthy last year. Got busted for PEDs, suspended for week 1 this year. Don't love him, but I also don't want to have no ownership, and I think I've drafted him once or twice in this tournament, and that's it. So don't hate grabbing one there. Kind of feels with the way this draft is going that maybe Harris or Mostert might make it back to us. Oh wow, Darrell Henderson's still on the board. We're starting to get deep enough into this draft where he was going in round 11 where I got my other shares. There he goes. So I think round 8 is about where you can start to take him, and now you're not at this severe disadvantage, right? All you need is your round 11 guy to outpace their round 8 guy, which is quite reasonable. Possible I should have even taken Darrell Henderson instead of Will Fuller. Did not remember to be looking for him. Harris and Mostert both go off. I think we're just going to take another wide receiver. So we're either going to take Mostert or a wide receiver. My eye on Pittman. Well, I'm going to take Pittman this time. I have quite a bit of Mostert, so set up my ability to grab a late Wentz stack to go with Dak. Still some running backs I don't hate in the next couple of rounds. Also, we have to deal with like having 2 of these 0 RB drafters right in front of us here. Oh, this guy finally took a running back. Dude, this guy's team would be smashing if we didn't take Dak. Woo! This guy must have been furious when we took Dak in the, was it round 5? Round 6? Round 6, yeah. I wonder how good his team would have been if he just... Who did he take that round? 43. Yeah. Wow, I don't like his DJ Moore pick very much. That would have been too early to take Dak. Who did he take the round after? Oh, I took Odell? Oh. So, yeah, I mean, like, this pick, Odell could have been Dak, and then this guy's team would just be fucking bonkers. You know, if he hits on his running backs, but... Whew! Crazy. Or Deontay. I think I was looking at the wrong team again there. Big Labs team, who ended up with Cooper and Gallup. I hate that it keeps switching you over time. Okay, so it was Deontay pick 54. Interesting. Definitely think he should have tried to lock up Dak having Amari Cooper. I don't like Amari Cooper Gallup pairings as much as I like CeeDee Lamb Gallup pairings, just because Amari Cooper's already dealing with like a foot issue. So I think the easiest path to Gallup smashing is him being down. Still don't like have to take a running back here. Elijah Moore, Bateman. I think I'm just going to take 3 tight ends, and I think I'll take Bateman here. I have a lot more Elijah Moore than I do Bateman. Don't really even need to look at quarterback for a while. Probably going to take a running back with my next pick, unless like the 5 or 6 guys that I don't mind, I'll go off the board. It's pretty sweet 6 wide receivers right there to start with. Can like have Trey Lance on our radar, but probably don't need to pick him soon. I would prefer to just wait on that second quarterback slot, but I also do think I have a Lance Dak 2 QB team in this tournament already. Not that having 2 would be any problem. Ooh, AJ Dillon off the board. It's one of my guys. Rager is not one of my guys. So I think best wide receiver availables are the Moores. Still 3 running backs I'm pretty cool with as my third. None of them have a conflicting bye week with my 2 guys, so that's nice. Okay, we're going to take either Tony Pollard or Melvin Gordon here. Since we have Dak, I'm going to take Tony Pollard this time. Maybe we can get, an injury to Zeke and Tony Pollard-Dak combo for a long touchdown in Week 17 if we've made it that far. If they play against Arizona, that's going to be a fast-paced game. I also have a lot more Melvin Gordon than I do Tony Pollard. I do think, like, if you're just asking me who would I rather have, Melvin Gordon or Tony Pollard, I'd rather have Melvin Gordon. There's also the fact that Melvin Gordon could still be there when we pick again. I'm not necessarily saying we would take a wide receiver, though. There he goes to this Michael Carter team. Pretty good value there. Tight end, like, I just didn't really want to take a Fant or Higbee on this team because I'm pretty much only taking them when I'm, like, trying to push to tight end. Like, I don't really like their value. So, like, their value to me is that I think they have enough upside that you can afford to just take 2 tight ends when you take those 2 guys and then, you know, hope one of them smashes because the ceilings are pretty high. Then you don't need a 3rd tight end. Like, you're going to assume some amount of things go right if you're going to win the $1 million, right? So, pretty comfortable just having this be like a 3 tight end team with most of the tight ends coming later. Would like to get Jarwin to go with Dak. Then at least we have, you know, like Dak, Jarwin, Tony Pollard. Maybe we get into week 17 and there's some sort of like Dak throws 3 touchdowns to those 2 guys and we beat the other Dak stack teams. Very, very unlikely, obviously, but you're going to need a very, very unlikely set of circumstances to happen to win that $1 million. If there's anybody I like really recognize in this draft, I don't think so. I think most people are just done with this Best Ball Mania 2, at least of the sharp players that I know. I don't mind waiting a bit longer for another running back. This could be a 4 or 5 running back build. I would prefer to keep it to 4. I do think Latavius Murray will get a little bit more use with Michael Thomas out just because I think they'll have more plays where they have Kamara at wide receiver and therefore have Latavius Murray on the field. But I don't think it's like any huge bump for Latavius Murray. I do think it is a marginal bump for him, however. I think my favorite player on the board right now is Mike Gesicki. He is a tight end that I do feel has some upside to be kind of like a smash guy, but not enough that I'm going to be super happy to draft 2 tight ends with him. Let's take a look at the wide receiver position. We could get one of the indie guys to build up that Wentz stack with Pittman. I already have a bazillion Wentz stacks with both, so I'm just going to take Gesicki. I like him more than the other tight ends on the board, and I don't have a tight end yet. Fournette goes off. Kind of have my eye on Naheem Hines or maybe Gio Bernard in a few rounds. Xavier Jones is interesting now. So he's going to be kind of like the main backup for Darrell Henderson if they don't bring someone else in. So I'd probably rather just take Devontae Booker than take Xavier Jones at this point because, you know Devontae Booker is the backup for Barkley, and he might be a backup plus because they might try to rest Barkley some. Cole Beasley, I'm not really looking at drafting right now. Leonard Fournette, I'm not really looking at drafting right now. Those are like players that don't want to get vaccinated. They're just not good enough for me to be taking like risks on them. Like their value is like basically they go where they should go. So I don't really see any reason to not fade them until something changes with them being willing to take the vaccine. So this round we would have looked at maybe a Trey Lance if he was there, but he is not, so that's okay. Kind of excited that he is not there. Not that there's anything wrong with him, but I'd rather just not get another share of him. All right, we'll take T.Y. Hilton here. We're going to have enough wide receivers to have 3 with the same bye week. That's all right. Now we set up our Pittman, T.Y. Hilton, possible Wentz stack. I mean, obviously, we could still miss Wentz. We could miss out on him. But we will target him later on. Could also have taken Naheem Hines there to finish off our running backs and also would have been like a Wentz piece. Just like a looser one. But I don't really want to take Booker because he has the same bye week if I'm only taking one more running back. This could end up being a 5 running back build. 7 wide receivers now, so I kind of want to chill on them unless there's some like great value. Christian Kirk's a guy I've got to fade now. I have too much of him. Kadarius Toney's a guy I have to fade. Nico's a guy I have to fade, which is convenient because I kind of want to get a few Anthony Miller shares in the last couple rounds. Probably going to start fading Bryan Edwards for a bit. It's another guy I have too much ownership on. Darius Slayton's a late guy that I'm looking for more ownership on. So we're 9 picks away. Still like the top 2 running backs that I'm interested in at running back. If they're both gone, then I'm probably not taking running back. Decent amount of tight ends that I still feel decent about. I don't want to like smash Blake Jarwin like super high up the. I don't want to take him super high out of ADP because he's just not that strong of a piece. So if Madison goes off, then I guess we'll look at something like Darrington Evans and Jerick McKinnon, or something like that later, or Darrington Evans and Booker. Madison does go off, so we're not going to be taking a running back here, right? I guess I don't really have much J.D. McKissick. I think I've only drafted J.D. McKissick once in these. All right, let's do that. So if we take J.D. McKissick, now we have all different bye weeks. We can kind of not take another running back if we don't want to. Feels pretty gross taking a running back ahead of ADP. So most of the wide receivers in this range I'm actually kind of trying to fade because I have so much of them. So we might look towards tight end. Let's see where we're at with Carson Wentz. Yeah, we'll have to consider Carson Wentz if we really want him this next round. Wentz goes off the board. That is a tough one for us. So let's look at other quarterback options. Cousins don't want any part of him with no stack pieces. Daniel Jones is always like great for late stacking. Derek Carr is pretty good for late stacking. do have McKissick, which we could grab Ryan Fitzpatrick and see if we can get a late piece for him. Oof. I took a tight end there. I was kind of looking to take Gerald Everett. I think we can wait around on tight end. Kind of in a tough spot here with Wentz going off where he did. Okay. I have a lot less Fitzpatrick than I have Daniel Jones, so I'm just going to take Fitzpatrick. I have a pretty loose stack piece here. So our stacking in this lineup, unfortunately, is going to be like really poor. That will definitely hurt our chances. But I suppose we could have taken Wentz when we took J.D. McKissick, but I don't know. That just didn't really seem like it was super necessary. So we're not taking any more running backs or quarterbacks unless we get stuck at another position where we hate everything. And I guess I would consider one more running back at that point. I am hoping De'Ami Brown makes it to us so we can get some sort of stacking to go with Fitzpatrick, but to be honest, that's just not going to be a high valued pick. He went off the board already. Pretty lame. So we're going to be very, very weak on stacking with this team. Unfortunate. I still do like this team quite a bit. Quarterback is very strong. Running back is medium to weak. Wide receiver is very strong. And tight end is going to be like medium. Assuming we get two other tight ends that are like somewhat useful, we'll at least be in the medium. Yeah, I don't love this team. It's fine. I wonder if I would have started Jonathan Taylor instead of Steph Diggs. Would I like this team more? Probably not, because I probably still would have ended up with some of the same players. Probably have Taylor instead of Montgomery. I probably would have picked a wide receiver in this spot. Yeah. Do you think maybe if I took Jonathan Taylor instead of David Montgomery, I might like this team more? Just going to take Jarwin to go with Dak. We have two pretty weak stack pieces with Dak, but maybe that'll work out for us, and those will be the pieces that happen to hit week 17. I can't take any more Kadarius Toney. I've just taken too much, and now he's got this little COVID problem going on. Some interest in Darius Slayton as he goes off the board. Well, if Cole Kmet or Hooper are there when we pick, I'll probably take one of them and go 3 tight end. So I would feel pretty good about our tight end situation if we got one of those two involved, with already having Gesicki and Jarwin. Wide receivers looking pretty bleak, so on 17 we might see what's out there for running backs. And then just take a wide receiver in the last round. How many wide receivers do we have right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I think I'd rather go 9 than 8. Especially with having through the same bye weekend. Whatnot. I'm going to take Kmet or Hooper here. I'll take Kmet. It's easier to get Hooper shares. Okay, we're definitely done at tight end now. RB, I think Jerick McKinnon's the only person I'm like really that interested in, and Booker too. So if Booker or McKinnon are there, we will consider running back in our next pick. But kind of tempted to just go 2 wide receivers. Booker is a guy I've been kind of trying to raise my exposure to a little bit. Because, like, Barkley sounds like he's starting off the season kind of slow, and if he gets hurt again, Booker will be quite good. Got a guy that's not taking a quarterback yet, but his team looks pretty good. There's a lot of running backs. Sam Darnold is QB1. I don't like this team too much. I love waiting on quarterback, but not quite to the degree where Sam Darnold is your QB1. Can we get by with only one more wide receiver? Probably. It's KS, Eskridge, Callaway would be the guys I'm looking at now. I had a lot of Callaway shares. I took in round 18 to start the draft season. So yeah, I think because Taysom Hill can't throw passes to Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston can throw passes to Taysom Hill, that they're more likely to start Jameis Winston than Taysom Hill. Galaxy Brain is on the clock. Cool. Take Callaway. Booker went off the board, so I think I'm just going to take another wide receiver. I have so much Jerick McKinnon that if Jerick McKinnon smashes, I'm just printing money at this point, so I don't really see another reason to take another share of him. We have a 10 wide receiver team. Stafford and Trey Lance is nice. Not much into Tim Patrick, even though I do think he's a pretty good player. Question, do we want to take our first Anthony Miller share? I think the answer is yes, because I own so much Nico Collins that, like, if things go wrong for Nico Collins, it probably means that things are going right for Anthony Miller. So if I eat shit on my, like, 32% exposure to Nico Collins, might help this team out quite a bit. Round 18, Austin Hooper's like insane. He should be going ahead of many tight ends that got picked ahead of him. Just think about Anthony Miller as his bye week didn't change. Cool. So we ended up with 2-4-9-3 here. Quarterbacks are very good. Running backs are mildly suspect. Definitely going to need David Montgomery to hit ceiling for this team to be good. Wide receivers are very, very good. And tight ends are like pretty good. This is a pretty good mix if you're going with a later 3 tight end build. All right, that'll do it for this one. I'm going to record one more Best Ball Mania 2 draft, and then we're done recording until Puppy 2 or something like that opens up that's a little bit cheaper of a contest. Good luck in your drafts, everybody.